Today's story is called Lou and the Swamp Ghost. It's by James Carvell with Patricia C. McKissick and illustrated by David Catrow. Lou and the Swamp Ghost. This sounds like a fun one. There's our title page, and we have some dedications for all three of those people. The first one says, to my wife, Mary Madeline, who has given me my life's two great gifts, her love and our children. The second one says, to Mark Frederick McKissick, welcome. And the third one says, for Deborah, happily we go hand in hand. And then there's a note about the story, but I'm going to read that at the end. Let's enjoy the story first, and then I'll come back to that note. Mama named her Lucille Ray Jean after her two great grandmares. Papa said that was way too much name for such a tiny baby, so he took to calling her Lou. She's been as curious as a Louisiana judge since the moment she could talk. Mama, Lou asked one morning while helping hang out the clothes, are we poor? Mama had a ready answer. You're never poor if you have a loving family and one good friend. Lou had lots of family, but not one good friend. Maybe I'm just a little poor, she figured. Why do you ask? Mama wanted to know. I heard people talking about the depression at the general store. What is a depression anyway? Lou asked. Hard times, Mama said, shaking her head. People out of work. No jobs. Lou thought about that. Everybody in her family worked. Mama and Grandma were always busy in the house or garden. Sister milked the cows, and Lou gathered eggs from underneath the setting hens. Papa grew vegetables and sold them at the market. Even Binky, their hound dog, had a job announcing all strangers. Deciding that the depression was nothing for her to worry about, she skipped off to help Papa check his turkey traps. Oh, I like the dog. Do you see him howling? The cypress woods were always full of wonderful sounds and smells. All around, things fluttered and creaked and slithered. Lou skipped up beside Papa, and her movement scared a fat frog from one lily pad to another. Just then, a water snake raised its head, but the frog sprang away. Now, old Mr. No-Hips, you'll have to find something else for supper, she shouted, clapping her hands. Papa, how come snakes eat frogs? All living things have to eat to stay alive, he explained. Snakes eat frogs, frogs eat bugs, and bugs eat us. Lou laughed as she swatted at a mosquito. Farther into the swamp, Lou noticed something else. Papa, how come the leaves of the sycamore tree are turning inside out? Papa wiped his brow. Means it'll rain before noon. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. As Papa worked, Lou walked ahead. Suddenly, the air felt thicker, the sky grew darker, a worrisome mosquito buzzed in her ear. Otherwise, it was quiet. Too quiet. See her there? Lou was about to turn back when suddenly someone, or something, rose up in front of her. The thing was covered in mud from head to toe. Leaves, twigs, and feathers stuck to it, and it smelled awful. P.U. Lou's cousins had told her about a creature called a swamp ghost, who gobbled up nosy little girls who strayed too far from home. She'd never believed them before, but now here was one standing right in front of her, a genuine, for real swamp ghost. Please don't take me away, swamp ghost, Lou pleaded. She shut her eyes and waited for the worst. At last came the answer. Why shouldn't I? Lou thought hard. Because I'm way too skinny to have much flavor. You need a good pork chop. You got pork chops? Asked the ghost. Lou opened one eye and then the other. I can get you some. Then do it, he demanded, and you'd better come back. And don't tell a soul or I'll come after you. With that, the swamp ghost melted into the bushes. Papa was right. After all, it stormed. Lou was from foot to foot till it was over. Soon as she could, she filled a basket with lunch leftovers, slipped out the back door, and followed the path to where she'd last seen the dreaded creature. Shaking a little, she called, Swamp Ghost, I'm here. The ghost appeared from out of the shadows. He snatched the basket without a thought of saying thank you. Lou watched him shovel red beans, rice, and cornbread into his mouth faster than a hog slurps down slop. Lou couldn't resist asking just one little question. Papa says all living things have to eat to stay alive, but you're dead, so how come you need to eat? The ghost studied her, his eyes the color of a summer sky. Maybe it's because we think we're still living, so we get hungry like the people we used to be. That made sense to Lou. Still, there was something different about this ghost. He wasn't nearly as big and scary as a ghost should be. Moving in for a closer look, Lou snapped her fingers. I got it. You're a kid ghost, aren't you? The creature pulled himself up tall. I'm still big enough to swallow you whole and spit out the bones. Bring more food tomorrow, or that's what I'm going to do. And he disappeared into the woods. So there's our swamp ghost, and there's Lou talking to him. I'm getting some ideas from that picture. The next day, Lou did her chores early, then packed crab cakes, biscuits, a piece of Grandmare's apple pie, and set out for the woods. Yoo-hoo, Swamp Ghost, she called, and he appeared looking tired and even dirtier than before. Thank you for coming, he said softly. Why, that's mighty fine of you to say, said Lou. You're welcome. Then she added, my name is Lou. What's yours? Just keep on calling me Swamp Ghost. Do you have a family, Swamp Ghost? Lou asked. He licked his fingers. Nope, just me. Do you have one good friend, Lou went on, remembering Mama's words. Nope again. Nobody should be that poor, Lou thought sadly, not even an ugly swamp ghost. I've got a great big family, but I don't have a friend either, she told him. They walked along the bayou, watching an alligator watching them, and a white heron perched on a cypress knee. Lou tried to see how long she could stand on one leg like the heron. The swamp ghost tried too. She fell, he fell. Their laughter echoed through the lowlands and startled a flock of swallows. No disrespect, Lou said, but you're not a very good ghost. You got no chain to rattle, you don't go ooh, you even laugh and play. I look scary, said the ghost, sounding defensive. Scared you, didn't I? Lou fanned him away. I ain't as scared of you one bit. That's the problem. But let me noodle on how we can fix it. And she skipped off, leaving the swamp ghost by the side of the path. Early next morning, family members began arriving at Lou's house, all come to mend Papa's barn roof. Lou had to help, but that didn't stop her from thinking about the swamp ghost. On toward afternoon, she hit upon what to do. A big table was spread out on the screened-in porch. Approche, hollered Grandmere. That word meant, come to the table, time to eat. Gathering hands, Papa said grace, then put in, as my mama taught me, though times may be hard, a person is rich when he has a loving family and one good friend. My poor swamp ghost, Lou thought. He may have no family, but he does have a friend. Quietly, she eased away from the table, loaded a basket, and lifted a key from a hook on the wall. Lou rushed through the deep, dark woods. In her haste, she never noticed that the sycamore leaves had turned inside out. Remember what that meant? Oh, Swamp Ghost, it's me, she called. From behind a cypress, he appeared. He ate while Lou shared her plan. I found a place where you can hide out and learn to ghost proper-like. Papa owns a houseboat on the backwater slough. The Swamp Ghost followed Lou all the way to the houseboat. Inside it was musty, but there were two nice-sized rooms and a good roof. You can practice your moaning and groaning right here, Lou said, adding, who knows, if you get good enough, one day you might even haunt a castle. Thunder rumbled. Uh-oh, I got to go, she said. The swamp is no place to be in a storm. Thank you, Lou. You've been kind, said the swamp ghost. He held out his hand for the girl to shake, and she slapped a bar of Mama's Lye soap in it. Use it, she said, laughing, and bounded off. So there's our houseboat. The storm closed in fast. Midway home, the heavens opened. The driving rain made it impossible to see, and the ground beneath Lou's feet became liquid. Poor Lou lost her footing and fell. Mud covered her and filled her nostrils. She tried to breathe. She tried to get up. She tried to find something to grab onto. She tried not to sink. Down, down, down. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her arm. It tugged at her, lifting Lou upright. Pull, pull. Was it Papa? Lightning flashed, and she could see a figure that looked like a boy. There wasn't time to ask all the questions that filled her head. Lou dragged herself after him back to the houseboat. Safe inside, she sunk onto a stool and caught her breath. I'm grateful for your help, she stammered. And then Lou asked the question that had been hovering beside her for days. I got to know, are you the swamp ghost or not? What do you think? Think he's the swamp ghost? A smile flickered across the boy's face. What do you think? What happened to all the ugly that was on you? She wanted to know. I smeared myself with mud to keep mosquitoes from eating me alive in the swamp. The rain washed it off. Lou listened carefully, looking into the familiar bright blue eyes. The boy continued, My name is Philip, and I'm really from Baton Rouge. No folks, been riding the rails looking for work. Found my way here. He hung his head. This depression has been mighty hard on me, and I'm truly sorry you almost got hurt. While they talked, the rain stopped. In the distance, Lou could hear Papa calling her name. I better go, Philip said, heading out the door. Thanks for being such a good friend. Long about now, Lou was feeling mighty rich. Wait, she said, why don't you tell Papa your story? He could always use a hand in exchange for room and board. She paused a moment, then giggled. And don't worry, your secret is safe with me. Papa need never know you're a swamp ghost trying to patch yourself off as a boy. And with that, she grabbed Philip's hand and rushed to introduce her family to her good friend. All right, let's see. And then there was a note at the beginning. Let me see if I can read it. It says, a note about the story. My mama's real name is Lucille, but everyone called her Ms. Nippy. In this story, you'll come to know her simply as Lou. She grew up in rural Louisiana during the Great Depression, and even when she was a little girl, she was strong and adventuresome. She wasn't afraid to go exploring or to make new friends or to help those who were less fortunate. As an adult, she went door to door selling encyclopedias, even in the part of town where black folks lived. For a white woman in Louisiana in the 1950s, this was rare behavior. The money she made helped put me and my 7 brothers and sisters through school. When I was a little boy, my favorite stories were the ones Mama told about the adventures she had growing up. After supper, she'd go sit in her rocker on the porch and call to us to gather round, using the French word she heard from her mama, approcher. We'd come sit by her feet and wait for the stories to begin. Now that I have 2 girls of my own, I want to share one of my mama's stories with them and with you. And so, approcher. And that's from James Carville, and he lives in Washington, D.C. So that was Lou and the Swamp Ghost.